Welcome back to Transitions. In this episode, we've been talking to Kevin Tony and Yorkwyn Walters about Black-owned businesses right here in Winnipeg. Adding to the conversation, we have been joined by Stephen Obeng, who is not a business owner, but has, like many of us, been recipients of services and has made some observations. So welcome, Stephen, to the show.
Thank you.
So Stephen, tell us a little bit about your experience as a person who is not a business owner at this point, but certainly you have made some observations about especially Black-owned businesses in the city.
Certainly, I have. First of all, I take my hat off to the Blacks that have businesses, and it's not because they're doing something extraordinary. It's just because of the community and the way we patronize, business people. In that, my only beef is when we go to use these services, we must have in mind that, for one, they're paying the same cost of running the business as other non-Black businesses. In business, you have something called fixed cost. Whether you do business or you don't, that cost is there. You got to pay, and they have to pay it. They got to pay the hydro. They got to pay electricity. They got to pay water. So to me, it's unfair and inconsiderate on the part of community members to go to a Black business and expect, like down dirt deal. That's why we put people out of business. So my only beef is, yes, these people are trying. Let's give them a hand. Let's go there and patronize their business the same way we would go to any of these, big chain or big block companies. That's my only beef with the community. Let's help them up. Would patronize their business the same way we do non-Black businesses.
So do you think also that there are some challenges that Black-owned businesses have in even getting off the ground compared to other businesses? Because, this is what I understand. We don't have a lot of areas where we can point and say that is owned by people of African and Caribbean descent. So what do you think is happening?
The challenges, like I said earlier, is no different from any other group trying to. Like my younger brother in Brampton owns his own garage. And to get it started, it wasn't easy. He came here, he's first started working for, a company. And then gradually, like you were saying before, when you start the business, people start, and you're working part-time, you don't really, because you've got that, guaranteed income coming in, you're really not devoting that much time to the business as you should. And he had the same issue. And it took him a long time to actually unchain himself from working for somebody and starting. So the challenges are pretty much the same as any. First, there's the financial aspects, because you're coming in here with nothing. Fortunately for him, he came with a skill that, as a mechanic, actually he went to a technical school that is actually run by Canadian government, set it up in Ghana, and that's where he graduated from. So he came here with skill, but the initial, your finances, like purchase, one, rent a place, two, buy equipment like your hoist and what have you. It's not, it's not cheap. he managed somehow, through the usual, financing and, and got things started. And now he's, he's managing. He's not swimming in cash, but, the bills are getting paid. Yeah, so.
Well, it's interesting because like all three of you are guys, and I'm the only woman here. But let me tell you something about myself as a woman walking into, let's say, a beauty salon or, get my hair done or whatever have you. Don't do that now. Do it all myself. But sometimes when the wait is really long, and I've been talking to other women about it, and I'd like to have some black women on the show actually to talk about their businesses. But when the wait is really long, it can turn people off, I think that there are some skills that we all have to really watch, because we're under the microscope a lot more. And if we turn some people off in the black community, it can spread. That, you're going to go there, you're going to have to wait really long or stuff like that.
And it's funny you mentioned that because back to the same point, a lot of times when you're coming from the 9 to 5 of having your job and having the salary coming in to starting your own business, what you mentioned about the long wait and also what you mentioned about him starting his own business, we have to start as entrepreneurs realize that if you don't spend time running the business instead of working in the business, that's how the business goes down. Oh. Because even with you pertaining to the long waits and other places having the long waits, if they had an appointment kind of software where they say, you come in at this time, we're going to be done at X time, and then are we going to push you back to the next day, that way your expectations are managed. Because if you don't manage expectations and people come in with this expectation of you, and then it's down there, and then the next one, it goes downhill from there. And that's how a lot of new businesses or entrepreneurial businesses go down, because expectations aren't managed.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I also want to touch on one of the points you made in terms of black people going to black-owned businesses and expecting deep discounts.
Yes.
The flip side of that is, I don't know if this is a cultural thing or not, but a lot of black-owned businesses tend to operate their businesses like they're still in the Caribbean or in Africa. Yes. Okay? And what I try to emphasize to people is when you come to North America, Canada, to do business, you have to start operating your business based on the values that's recognized in the larger society. So what a lot of black people get frustrated when they go to black-owned businesses that don't run themselves like a regular chain business. For example, you go to a restaurant, right? You go to McDonald's, there's certain expectations, okay? You go to a black-owned businesses, those expectations should be exactly the same, right? So sometimes it's upon us to make sure that we're being the best we can be to the larger community. And I find sometimes, whether it's cultural or not, we try to run our businesses like we're still in the Caribbean. And when you're in Canada, sometimes you have to sort of like, I don't want to stereotype everybody, but you sort of have to sort of like, we have to raise our game to the highest level possible. Okay? As we all know, as minorities, our good is not good enough. We have to strive for something that's higher all the time. We have to be better, 2, 3, 4 times better. So when you're running a small business, you really have to make the effort to really provide really, really good customer service. You have to put things in place that's going to help get your business to a level where nobody's going to know whether you're black-owned or not. It's just a business.
But let me just make a comment with regard to the Caribbean, because I spend more time in the Caribbean probably than anybody here right now today. And I find that there is a difference. Like it's not all, I wouldn't want to paint a picture of the Caribbean and Africa being like all of them being having different standards. It just like there are businesses where you're going to have to wait a while. And I think maybe the expectation is that, hey, I have to wait, but I really like the work that this woman does with my hair, or, you know, I like the way she does my makeup, or so on. So it's just sort of part of the culture, but then you have other places where, in the Caribbean, where it's quick. You know, they want a turnover in a restaurant. You go for a nice dinner out, they're still booking people into 7:30, even if you came in at 5:30. They're not expecting that you're going to sit there from 5:30 right through.
But you just mentioned something very important.
Yeah.
Booking.
Yeah.
Booking.
Booking
If
is
people know
important,
that at this point in time,
Time.
this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and they get updates, are you going to be late? You don't
Yeah.
call the time when you're late that you're going to be late or there's a 1 hour wait.
Yeah.
You tell them, I have a client, it may be a little bit of a wait.
But also, I just pulling back to the Caribbean, is that some businesses might have the reputation of being later, but then sometimes people feel, oh, I really like this place, so that's part of it. They accept it. They're less accepting here in Winnipeg and in Canada about that.
That's
I
what I
think
said.
I
I
think
think
that
it'd be a
that's different.
cultural thing. That's
But
exactly what I meant.
But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that in the Caribbean, you'll find the ones where it's right on time, like the expectations on time, the expectations that you are going to sit there for 2 hours while you have your dinner. You're going to leave. We're going to have more people in. And the same thing with the hair or the makeup and so on. So you have a mixture there in the Caribbean too. The mixture here in Canada, I don't think that it works as well. You do have to stick to your time. If you know, there'd be a rare situation where a business is going to make it on the reputation of being late and good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sooner
you
or
have to-
later,
that's
late
the
and good
point.
does catch
yeah.
up with you.
That's the point that I'm trying to.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm
Late
trying to
and
make.
good.
But you
Yeah.
see you know how we joke about, you know, when we say, oh, it's African time.
Time or
It's
Caribbean
all
time.
Caribbean
or-
time, yeah.
Or
yeah.
black
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You know, we joke about it, but you know what?
serious
There is some
problem.
truth to it.
Yeah.
in the
And that's
sense
the point that I'm trying to make when I said
And
cultural.
that's
Exactly.
point, I think, the clients, those of us who patronize the business, should recognize that. And the business people should also recognize that, because one thing that I've learned here is respect for time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Respect.
People are
If,
busy all the
if
time.
somebody makes you wait, if they say you should be here at 7 o'clock and you don't show up at 7, one, you have no respect for their time and respect for them, because not having respect for their time is not having respect for the person. Those two things go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So you cannot, you know, I've actually played tennis with people that I say, get up, there's got it 7 o'clock in the morning, and it never failed for 25 years. Every time. And
Right
he says,
there.
I respect you, so I respect your time.
Yeah.
Never late. For 25 years, God was never late.
See, and that's one of
So that ingredient then, like we were coming to the end of the show very shortly, but that ingredient, that one piece is very important. Funding to help businesses get going, we want to see more of that. So just quickly, if we can go around and just quickly, each of us make one point as what we would hope for the future for Black businesses. What would you say? Let me start with you, Kevin.
Okay, so I'd like to see, with our young kids, traditionally they've always been drilled into them. Go to university, get your education, get a good job, you get the gold watch after you retire. That lifestyle is over. We need to start saying to our kids, you know what? You could also be the next Jeff Bezos. You could also be the next Mark Zuckerberg. So we have to start giving our kids a different perspective on how their lives are going to be, because they're going to go through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 careers in their lifetime now. So just going to university and getting a degree is not the only option anymore for the minority community. We have to start looking at starting our own ventures.
For me, as a young entrepreneur new to Winnipeg/Canada, I would like to see more incentives, whether it be training or tax incentives or whatever, for those who would like to go into entrepreneurship. Also have entrepreneurship classes as soon as secondary school, so people get that idea of not so much self-gratification, but working to build something and be, like, as you say, the next Jeff Bezos.
And yourself?
Me, I'll just reiterate what I said before about time. Respect for time is respect for the person. And we all need respect.
Okay. So even if it's a really good hairdressing salon and you have to wait, maybe discuss that with the owner. Don't stop
Before.
patronizing, but say,
Yes.
like, maybe
Because- yeah.
could we
Appointment.
stepped up a
Exactly.
little bit so that.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching Transitions, and please visit our website to see previous episodes you may have missed. We'll see you next time, folks. Thank you for joining me
Thanks
here
for
on
having me.
Thanks for having
Transitions.
us. Thanks.